All right, let's break down a really critical concept for any IT team that wants to stay organized: the scope of change management. Now I know it sounds a little dry, but trust me, getting this right is the difference between a smooth running operation and just, constant chaos.
So let's start with a scene that I'm sure is super familiar. A critical server patch has to be applied. It's planned, but it's also kind of urgent. So who owns this thing? Is it a change that needs to go through the whole approval process? Or is it more of a reactive task for the ops team? Which process do you follow? Who gives the final thumbs up?
And when those lines are blurry, you get some pretty predictable problems, right? The patch might get held up waiting for the wrong approval, and that leaves you wide open. Or it gets pushed through without the right checks and balances, and bam, you've created a whole new problem. Suddenly, nobody knows who's accountable, and your team's frustration just goes through the roof.
But the good news is there's a really straightforward way to bring some order to all this madness, and it all comes down to drawing a very clear, very deliberate line in the sand. So let's dive into exactly how that works.
Okay, so this boundary has a proper name: the change management scope. Honestly, the easiest way to think about it is like a super precise job description, but for the entire change management process. It says, crystal clear, this is our turf, this is what we handle, and maybe even more importantly, and that stuff over there, that's not us.
So what exactly falls inside this shiny, well-defined boundary? What are the core responsibilities that belong squarely in the world of change management? Let's get into the specifics.
First up, you've got the foundational elements. I'm talking the absolute building blocks of your entire IT environment. This means any change to what the ITIL folks call a configuration item, or CI. Just think: servers, databases, routers. It also covers changes to the services you actually offer, the official documentation about them, and even the internal processes your team follows to get work done.
And of course, the scope absolutely includes the technology stack itself, the tangible hardware and software that everyone actually uses. Any tweak to your core infrastructure or those business-critical applications, well, that has to be managed as a formal change, period.
And this is where the rubber really meets the road, because it makes all that theory totally concrete. These are the everyday things that should automatically trigger the process. Pushing out new code? That's a deployment. It's a change. Applying that server patch we talked about earlier? Yep, that's a change. Tweaking a system's configuration or spinning up new resources in the cloud? All of them. Formal changes.
Okay, so now let's hop over to the other side of that line we drew. Because defining what's out of scope is just as important if you want a system that's structured, clear, and efficient. This is how you stop processes from tripping over each other and make sure the right people are on the job.
For starters, change management does not need to get involved in your routine, day-to-day stuff. I mean, if a task is super low risk, totally predictable, and it's already following a pre-approved standard change, like rebooting a non-critical server or just replacing someone's keyboard, it doesn't need the whole committee meeting every single time. It's already been given the green light.
And this, right here, illustrates the most important distinction of all. Change management is not incident management. It is not service request fulfillment. Fixing something that's broken, that's a break-fix action, an incident. Giving a user something they need and are supposed to have, like software access, that's a service request. They are their own things handled by their own specialized teams.
Okay, let's pull all of this together. Why is this separation so incredibly important for a high-performing team? Why bother drawing all these lines? Well, it's all about transforming your IT operations from a state of, I don't know who handles this, into a state of absolute clarity.
This table just sums it up perfectly. Just look at the goals. The mission for change management is all strategic. It's about managing the risk of planned transitions. It is focused on the future. The mission for incident and service request management, that's tactical. It's about restoring service and fulfilling needs right now. It's focused on the present. Two different missions. So here's the crucial point. Defining the scope isn't about creating red tape and slowing things down. It's actually about empowerment. It creates totally clear accountability. Everyone knows exactly what their job is. It gets rid of all that confusion and wasted time from overlapping processes. And the end result? A much more stable IT environment and a way more efficient team. When you get right down to it, what we've just laid out is the path to taking change management from being this vague, fuzzy concept into a really powerful, practical tool. It becomes this key engine for making sure the services your entire organization relies on are stable and dependable.
And that really leaves us with one final thought, a question for you to think about. What about your own team, in your workplace? Is that line in the sand clearly drawn? Does everyone know where it is and respect it? Or is there still a little bit of that chaos hanging around at the edges of your processes?